Greetings, everybody. It's your man Richie Rich back with another video. And folks, Rich team out there, want to say a big shout out, of course, to the Rich team. Really appreciate you for following me on these videos. On this one, we got another Forts video, and it's gonna be, as I said, you've seen the thumbnail, you've seen the title. We're gonna be looking at Paul Pierce and Azar, who have their podcast. On this video, they mostly talk about like why like black women in particularly are so hated. So we're gonna dive into this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Without further ado, let's get on to this video.
Are black women appreciated by men?
Are black women appreciated by men? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like nowadays, I think that other races, like how you do a lot, are more put on a pedestal. And I see that a lot, especially from you. And so I feel like, you know, black women do kind of feel disrespected and they feel underappreciated a lot of the time. Yes, because all I see on the internet is black men downing black women every day. In our comments, it's way more men. I would assume when I started this journey that it would be women hating on women. Every bad negative comment about me is mainly from a man. I rarely see a woman comment negative.
Right, so that's Azar, who I believe I've already done a video of reacting to her. So she's the co-host to Paul Pierce on the Truth After Dark. With Paul Azar, with her and Paul Pierce, and it's actually quite successful. They do get a lot of views and they get a lot of tractions because especially there is so many podcasts out there. But what this chick is saying is that most of the negative comments she gets, because everyone gets troll comments, like you, me, everyone gets some negative comments now and again. The most negative comments she gets are from black men, and it's the stigma, as I've talked many times, of like how black women behave, the aggressiveness, the sharp tongue, it's a rude behavior. She's talking about this, that she sees that in her comments. And of course, like I've made a ton of videos about this, and I've said clearly like there's a different way you have to deal with when you are dealing with the sister as opposed to the other races. And again, there's a lot of stuff that factors into that, the environment, the household. Unfortunately, of course, a lot of black women are coming from single mother households, so they're telling their kids or telling everyone that like men ain't shit, especially black men ain't shit. So it is this never-ending cycle. So I've said clearly it's a fact, and let's dive in here what more Azars has to say about this. Let's continue.
And I didn't know men were so catty like that and so quick to want to put a black woman down. Like, she's trash, she's this, she's that, she's like the most horrible things you can think of. And I'm like, who raised y'all? Because I come from a generation, and my dad and how I was taught, like I never see my dad talk down on a woman like that. Even if he can't stand this motherfucker, he's not gonna sit in my face and pillow talk about another woman or bring her down. He probably did it behind in his own room, like this bitch, you know, but it was never that. And I feel like black women, all I see on the internet is how white women are better, American, non-American women are better, this and that are better, better, better. And it's like, have your preference, but don't.
But I have to disagree with her here because, and I'm not saying like you have to match the other energy. There's a lot of chicks, not even just black women, who go out on TikTok and just make stories about like how they finesse guys, how they have to be 6'4", 6 figures, at least 6 down there. They have to match these certain requirements, and that happens all the time with black men. And you can even say men in general, if they go there and they voice their opinion, it's like they're hating. Especially if it's a black guy now, he goes online and he says this is how black women behave. There's a section of other real sensible people who will be like, they can understand this and they can understand the reasons behind this. But then you'll get some women, in her case Azar, who's just going to be like, oh, this is just disrespectful, and hey, you came from a black woman, how can you ever say such a things? But you're missing the point of taking accountability. How can you possibly get better if you're not able to take criticism? constructive criticism. There's no way you can ever improve. Let's continue.
Don't bring us down while you're doing it. If you want to be with a woman that's not American or not white, do that. But stop referencing it to a black woman. Because when black women get with white men, they're not talking about black men are trash. They're just loving and living their life with this white man, period. And it's like, you don't have to sit here and down the other race because you don't want to fuck with them.
Right. No, that there is a straight up lie. Is I will say, of course, it is the dominant now. Like you are seeing just a lot. Because I even when I check my feed now, it's not even just black men who are saying like black women got like an attitude problem. I'm hearing other races even say, and they're not even dating with them, but they've been in proximity and vicinities and seen how a lot of these sisters can behave. There are black women who do go online and do vent their frustrations on like, oh, I got me a white man, he's not a deadbeat, he's not a drug dealer, he's not a loser. They do it, but it's just not the dominant, because in general, and I remember Myron even mentioned this, is where black men, especially in the dating pool, they're very like high up. Them and white men are like really the top two. So black men in general are dating more around different races. They're dealing with like everyone. Whereas black women in the dating market, they're on the bottom of the list. Any dating application, any dating market you go across the globe, they are the bottom. So specifically black chicks are only really most of the time dealing with black men, majority of the time. So that's where you get most of these experiences of, let's say, brothers who are relationships with these black chicks. And again, it's not all of them. We're just talking about the ones who are in that like ratchet type of behavior, and are then dating races outside. They're really seeing the differences completely. Like, are more peaceful, and the women are more submissive and more feminine, as a woman should be. Let's continue.
At the end of the day, if you want to mess with a white woman and an Asian woman and this woman, go do that and leave us out of the conversation. Period, point blank. And I think that that's what the women are frustrated about. And if we have an opinion on this, we're aggressive. See, she has too much of opinion. That's why they don't like you. That's because you talk too much. You're loud. Okay.
Well, this is the thing too. And the reason why black women get so much hate is because how we, on our TV shows, across these platforms, how people look at us. So when you start looking, they look at us like an ignorant group of people.
Right.
And especially like when you look across the platforms and you start looking at the Real Housewives of whatever, and we glorify the shaking that ass. We glorify the fighting. We glorify the talking about each other. I'm talking about like black women. We glorify it.
You know that white women do
and
that
the
too,
ratings,
though.
And the ratings are off the chain too.
You know that white women do that too, though.
It's not
Jersey Shore, the housewives of like Pontiac or the other housewives of Beverly Hills is white women. It's not black women on that at all. So I'm letting you know there's a lot of housewives that are not. The one you know is basketball wives.
Okay, let me pause it then. So so Paul Pierce finally has time to talk. He's saying that, of course, the image of like when they see black women, and especially if I keep it real, mostly when people talk about that negative stereotype of a black woman, they're thinking of the chick from Atlanta, the one who's got 5 kids from 3 different fathers, who's getting that welfare check, who does a night shifts at Walmart or something. They're thinking of that chick who's very like loud and abrasive. So most of the time, I believe, and to be honest, black chicks, like especially more outside of the West, don't behave like that. It's more traditional. But what she's saying is that is true. There are chicks, of course, in as you mentioned in these reality TV series, they do act ratchet. But if we be real, it's not to the extent, of course, the way you see how the sisters behave. And the worst thing about it is the accountability. Because as I said, if you look at these television series, like as you said, the Real Housewives of Atlanta or the Basketball Wives, a lot of them, there's no real strong masculine guy. It's like you got women who have been divorced either 2 or 3 times, maybe unplanned pregnancy, multiple abortions, and didn't grow up with a father. And that's just the goddamn truth. So and you can even see by her reaction now, the way she's like coming like, oh yeah, it's the white women do this, white women do this. she's excusing bad behavior. Don't worry about the white women. Worry about yourself and what you can do to change the stereotype. Let's continue.
Of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is all white women throwing drinks at each other, cursing each other out. But guess what? It is not as bad because they're white, right? It's not as aggressive. It's not as ghetto. It is not as raunchy because they're white women doing it. Black women are always held to a way higher standard. We always have to prove why we deserve to have a seat at the table. We always have to prove that we deserve to be here. No matter, we always have to be way more classier than you. A white girl can come in here half naked and I can come in here with a little titty showing, and guess what? I'm a whore. Like, it's always going to be this comparison, and I think that black women are tired of being compared.
Even the way she's speaking now, like I said, I wonder if she has a man. You can tell that there's a lot of like trauma in her voice. You can tell that because you understand, like, right now they're just analyzing like why black women get hate. It's like, could it be because of this reason, because of being this reason? The way she's explaining it now as a woman, you can already tell there's some traumatic problems that's happened into the past. She's getting very riled up just on this subject, and it's not even 5 minutes into the video. You can see my man Paul Pierce is over there. He's just giving his reasons why. As a black man who has been in relationships with black women, he can even understand that. Why is she getting so riled up? Like, this is just like the way it is. You get told like this is the reason why people see you this way, or this is the reason people are getting judged this way. And when you have a chance to say like, okay, I'm gonna do something or not, rather than take this like advice and see like how I can like use this to become better, you'll just find another excuse and playing the victim. And this is something I cannot stand, when someone continues to pull that victim card as she's doing right now.
Do I agree with you that culturally black people are doing too much, shaking ass and this and that? Yes, I don't think you're wrong. Like Zeus Network and Jocelyn's Cabernet and all of that stuff is out of line.
This is the thing. When you're American culture,
yeah,
you're being more watched than anybody. Like when you think about culture in America, who sets the trends? Who sets the tone for how we dress, how we look, how we act, how we run, how we play sports? It's us.
Yeah, I agree.
So we're already up here as far as eyeballs watching us. So then people around the world are going to assume, just like from watching us on every microscope and every camera and every national platform, that's how we are. But we don't do us no favors by putting more shows out there like the Cosbys or just like a classy Housewives of this show. No, we want the drama, and we feed off the drama because that's where the money is. Now,
yeah, it's an interesting point what Paul Pierce said, that when again, growing up in the 90s, there were black television series or media that really showcased like positive black imagery. You had the Cosby shows, you had the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. If we look at specifically Fresh Prince, it was always a positive image of a successful black family, with of course the super charismatic black Will Smith. Sometime like around the 2010s when social media came out, it's like they wanted to see more of this raunchy content, especially involving people from our community, of a lot of this reality trash. And you would just see a lot of these like black women fighting, cheating, like really this like uncontrollable like civilized behavior. And what he's saying is there's people who are now like in, you could say, the Slavic countries, or possibly they're in Asia, or possibly in Australia, where it's a place that predominantly, because I'll say this, some people get twisted because maybe they live in Canada where I am now, or they live in UK, or they live in USA, and they think like because they see black people around their city or town, they think black people are all over the world, and that's not the case. It's like a pack. And I'm proof of this. When I was in Mexico in the year plus I was spent, I think I only met a handful of black people, not even black women. I didn't even meet them there. So there is that, going back to what I was saying, there is that stereotype, of course, what they're seeing in the media, transmitted through TV, and now transmitted through social media, of the way these black chicks behave. Let's continue.
It's about clout. It's about who can make the most noise, who could get the most attention, and we become attention whores for the money. It's just, if that's the only way that black women can make money, and I'm not saying that is the only way, but like when they're throwing dollars at black women being ignorant to one another, it feeds into it,
Yeah, I can
and
agree
that's
with
what
that.
people see.
I can agree with
And
that.
now that's our perception of one another, and that's why we're looked at as a race, and that's how black women are looked at for that perception of being ignorant and men not wanting them from other races because of that. But it's entertaining.
But I will say that
out of all of our role models,
Yeah.
like our top women, like
yeah,
in this generation,
yeah.
like who are our popular top women and what do they talk about?
Michelle Obama, she has a podcast.
No. This generation don't relate to her. She's older. They're not following Michelle Obama. Maybe an older generation is. They're following Sexy Red, Cardi B. They're following what are Glorilla. They're following Megan Thee Stallion. What do they talk about? Shaking their ass, popping that pee, dressing like this, and our kids are watching this.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Like, like who is the face? Who is the face for this generation? Those are the faces that the kids look up to. They turn on the TV. This is what they think. They don't have to turn on the TV no more. We're going to our phone. And now this is what we got on us 24 hours a day to look at this. Oh, damn. We just saw Cardi right there. We just saw Megan. We just saw Sexy Red. Oh, she said this. We can't be hypocrites to this, dog. We can't be. Because this is what's being preached. This is what's getting fed to us.
Yeah, for facts, you can't be hypocrites about this. Like, because even now she's gonna have a rebuttal about this, but that there's so much truth that they're saying about it, and I believe a lot of it is to do with culture. But then again, it's also to do with also, let's say, positive reinforcements of like positive role models. You understand? All the other races I mentioned, from white, Asian, and also like Hispanic, they don't have their role models like actually like doing so much like bullshit things all over social media. You always get that odd few, but it's never so much the dominant as seen in the black community, especially when they're already the minority. But if we keep it 100, like a lot of young black chicks, like they idolize Sexy Red or Glorilla or Cardi B. I heard them. Oh yes, Richie Rich heard them when they were defending her actions, getting impregnated while she's already married. There was one thing Azar mentioned is she talked about solutions, because no matter what, these ones you mentioned, like the role models and even on the culture, is always going to be there when especially you've got like a lot of influences in that case. Video, going back to what I said about solutions, because I rambled on about, I believe like you don't, here's the thing, because it's not just me. I've seen more this year than ever people talk about like how they've been experienced dealing with black chicks, even that combined with black fatigue. I feel that if you're like, again, let's say an upstanding person and you're doing your thing and you just happen to have this experience with black women, understand it's not all of them. Of course, we're not generalizing them, but there is a strong part of the culture that do fuck with like Sexy Red and Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. And I feel like you just have to be, I've always said this, when I'm dealing with black chicks, I deal with them like it's a complete different woman. When I mean like that, the Sexy Reds, the Megan Thee Stallions, the Glorillas and Cardi B, I treat them completely different than I would treat the other races like standard, because I know this, I have experienced it, I know how to deal with that. For the average black dude who hasn't experienced that, that's when it becomes an issue. And that trauma of that pain of maybe that experience you dealt with a sister, that could lead you to start saying like, I don't date black women, or I've had bad experiences, they all behave like this. No, that's no way to treat it. I think you just got to understand this is the way they're like. Most likely they're not going to change. How can I work around this in order to get where I need to get to? Folks, let me know what you thought about this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you haven't already, folks, done so, what are you waiting for? Get your paper right and update your wallet.